Hey everybody, Marcus Carlton here. Welcome back to another episode of the Talking Stick podcast. Warrior football team had the week off last week. Back on the road this week to Pocahontas. We're going to preview it coming up on this episode. Well, this Friday night, October 24th, your Westside Warriors are back on the field as they make the trip up to Randolph County over to Schoonover Stadium to take on probably one of the hottest teams in the league coming off this game last week, the Pocahontas Redskins. And with me tonight is color man for the Redskin Broadcasting Network, Mike Thompson. Mike, appreciate you joining me.
Man, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, so let's get into it, man. I was down at Trumann Friday night, and I have to say I walked away pretty impressed with this high-octane Redskin offense that showed up.
Yeah. One of our talking points before the game or during the commentary, Marcus, you're probably like me. You're out in the community. You're the voice of the Warriors, and people think that, you're the expert on it, right? And
right.
We started our broadcast because we've been out in the community last week and we're getting questions like, hey, man, what's going on with the Redskins? We're coming off 2 straight losses. And what we told people is that, the Redskins came into the Trumann game 2-3, 0-2 in conference. But their 3 losses are to the number 1 team in 3A, the Salem Greyhounds, who I firmly believe are going to repeat as 3A state champions this year. And just to be honest with you, I think Salem's probably a top 10 team, maybe in 4A as well.
I would think so too, yeah.
Yeah. And then we lost to Southside, who has only lost 3 games in the past 2.5 seasons, or 3 seasons, excuse me. They lost in the quarterfinals of the 5A playoffs twice, and they lost in the 4A semifinals last year. And then you take Gosnell, who has one of the best sophomore running backs in the 4A, a kind of a gift from Bryant that fell into their lap, being the transfer portal. They've got a brand new coach who has brought a whole new attitude to that team, whole new culture change. And so, we were 2-3 coming in the game, but we've played some really good teams. So we knew we had a good football team. I was not expecting. I was expecting to win the game at Trumann. I was not expecting the offense to really play the way they did.
Yeah, that was and something, I'm originally from Randolph County, so I've watched quite a bit of Pocahontas football over the years to not have graduated from there. But the up-tempo no-huddle really shocked me to see that from the Redskin offense.
Yeah, and that was something that we've seen glimpses of. You and I talked before the Trumann game, and you asked me what I thought the keys to Pocahontas winning were, and I told you it was going to be a battle between Pocahontas junior running back Xavier Ballard versus the Rolford kid from Trumann. The Rolford kid's been putting up big numbers no matter who they've played, even in losses. The Redskin offense the past season, most of this season, if Xavier Ballard goes over 100 yards, the Redskins win.
Yeah.
But what we saw Friday night that we really we knew there was potential, but we hadn't seen it, was Redskin junior quarterback Spencer James really stepping up and showing out. Spencer had, I want to make sure I get this right, Spencer had 16 carries for 121 yards. First time he's went over probably 65 to 75 yards rushing in a game. He was also 12 of 15 passing with 3 touchdown passes. Again, we knew the potential was there, but this was truly a breakout game for him, and we just couldn't be more excited about it.
Oh, I would imagine. I mean, Randy Coleman and I were on the call for Suncom Media, and we basically said the same thing. It said this is going to be like a boxing match between Rolford and Ballard, and whichever one has the better game is probably going to lead their team to victory. And then, quarterback said, "Hold my Gatorade," and decided to put on a show. I mean, he did. I mean, he put on a show, man. He had all the rushing yards, and then he was just dropping dimes all over the field.
He was, and we've Early in the season, they were rolling him out a lot more, and I
Hmm.
think he's really a lot more comfortable when he's standing in the pocket with his feet set, and you see what kind of balls he can deliver
Yeah.
when he's got some time to throw the ball. And of course, we knew we had some receivers that could go get it right,
Hmm.
but just we really they've been bottled up all year up until this Truman game.
So you guys were coming off that what I've been calling the unexpected bye week,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
coming into that game because of K City dropping down to the 8 man.
yep.
Uh, how big of a role do you think that off week played after such a hard loss, I believe against Gosnell, to get
Yeah.
that week to kind of reset and regroup and then go on the road to Truman and just absolutely dominate?
Yeah, I think it helped in a couple of ways. We talked about the running back Ballard. He actually set out most of the second half of the Gosnell game. He had a banged up hand.
Hmm.
Initially thought it might be broken. Turns out it's not broken. But I think that bye week gave him some time to kind of recover a little bit. And we talked about the Redskin offense. We really haven't talked about the Redskin defense yet.
Right.
Redskin defense pitches a shutout in the first half.
Hmm.
That's their first shutout half of the season. The Redskin defense had a different starting lineup for our first 5 games,
Yeah.
but in the going into the Southside game, then into the Gosnell game, basically had the same starting defensive lineup, and then we kept that starting defensive lineup for the Truman game. And so that gave some of those guys that, you know, we had a couple of players where the Southside game was their first start. We had another player where the Gosnell game was his first start. So that gave those guys some more practice time running with the
Hmm.
ones defense. And I think that was, you saw what we can put together. We found some depth on the defensive line that may have been missing. So we couldn't really keep guys fresh. So we found some depth there, and then we have found a starting linebacker now that is only in his second year of organized football,
Oh, wow.
and he's playing lights out. And the more game time he gets, the better he gets. So
Yeah.
so I think it was beneficial for us that we had some time off, and we talked about it. Bye weeks can be tricky. It's either
Hmm.
coming back, you either knock the rust off or you struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, I think for us, the bye week was definitely a good thing.
Well, and Westside was off this past Friday night. That's why I was
Yep.
able to do the Pocahontas Truman game, and I'm kind of hoping something similar happens for Westside because in the previous game we had to go over to the South Side and we left 4 starters on the sideline due to injury.
Yeah.
Not only quarterback one, but also the backup quarterback. So going into that Southside game, we had a young man taking snaps at quarterback. He had not taken a snap all year long,
Oh,
and he was
wow.
starting the
Okay.
game, not just starting a game, but starting at Southside, who's sitting on top of the conference with Gosnell
Yeah.
right now. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
talk about jumping out of the pan straight into the flames. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a tough scenario to get. So hopefully, I haven't had a chance to catch up with Coach Gar yet on the injury report, but I'm hoping that that extra week off would give some of these guys some time to heal up and come back because Westside's needs every weapon possible to be on the field every week.
Yeah.
So, all right, homecoming this week for the Skins, right?
It is.
Yeah.
We
Any?
we, we originally had Cave City scheduled as our
Mhm.
homecoming opponent, and of course, when they left, that was the next home game for us.
Yeah.
Basically, we didn't. Our last home game of the season is against Highland on a Thursday night, and so we didn't want to make that the homecoming game. So
Yeah.
that's how we got with Westside, I think.
I think there's enough intensity around that game as it is without putting homecoming on that night too. So,
Yeah, yeah,
if you know on that. So,
that's exactly right.
but do you think there's a lot of times I've talked to a lot of coaches and they almost kind of cringe when you talk about homecoming night because there's so many potential distractions and everything going on. Do you see that possibly being any kind of a factor for the Skins at all?
Man, I think that's what Nick Saban would call rat poison, right?
Yeah,
It's those
yeah,
outside things. Under some previous coaches here at Pocahontas, the last previous coach, he he wanted homecoming to be a business trip, and it was not.
Hmm.
It was just all about football. And I can't speak for Coach Casey, but I think he may take a middle road on that. He
Yeah.
wants our kids to enjoy their day, and he wants to enjoy the festivities. But it's also, hey, we got a ball game to go win too.
Yeah.
And I honestly think this team is starting to hit its groove. I think they're pretty locked in right now. The thing I'm worried about, I'm watching the weather forecast, right?
Hmm.
The last one I saw, rain may stop around 7 o'clock. We haven't. I don't think either one of our teams this year has
Yeah.
played in a little bit cold and rainy, right? So
Right.
you never know what's going to happen.
Well, and that, especially playing on the natural field, like what you guys have and what we have at Westside too, weather can affect that. I mean, whether it, it
100%.
doesn't have to be raining. It can just be the cold. And then you get to the point where that dew starts coming out and things get slick, and you never know what can happen at that point. So along that same line, what would you say is the biggest key for Pocahontas coming into this game?
Man, I think we've got to stay away from negative yardage plays. We had a
Hmm.
couple of those against Truman. We were able to bounce back from that. We've had a penalty bug kind of bite us a couple of times this year. In the Southside game, we gave them the first two scores basically because of penalties on our defensive line. And then in the Gosnell game, we had a touchdown run from Ballard called back because of a penalty. So I think for us, we play our game, we do what we're good at, and we don't beat ourselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think on the west side of things, first off, we got to get some of these guys back that have been injured.
Yeah,
Second off, we have to play within ourselves. And
yeah,
at times we've kind of struggled with that. Penalty bug has kind of bothered us at times this year as well. And go out, let's roll the ball out and let's see what happens and take it from there. I want to touch on one thing and then I'll let you get out of here. You mentioned both Southside
yeah.
and Gosnell. That's the game of the week this week, obviously in the
It
conference.
is.
That's a
Yeah,
big one. I mean, that's the last two undefeated teams in the
yeah,
conference after Gosnell basically ran away and hid from Blytheville last week. I was a little bit
yeah,
surprised
yeah.
by the final score on that one.
I was as well. Blytheville goes as Courtney Rogers goes, right? I
Yes.
mean, they
Yes.
had an outstanding running back. But Gosnell, in addition to this high scoring offense, I mean, we saw, Jai Jacobs made the ESPN for the
Yeah.
catch he made, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they can play some defense too. They've got some beef on that defensive line. Obviously, they've got real good quickness to the corners, so it's hard to get outside leverage on them. And so I think it's going to be a whale of a ball game.
Yeah.
One of our keys, Southside going to the Southside game, they've got the McLaughlin kid, right? He was the
Hmm.
leading returning rusher in the 3-4A, and the Redskins held him to 54 yards. But what we didn't contain was their quarterback Trey Allen, who just torched us for over 300 all-purpose yards that night. They run that RPO. They're going to show you a lot of
Hmm.
different looks, and he is one of the best I've seen to run Coach Kenny Simpson's offense in a while. He's just
Yeah.
really good. So, really looking forward to that matchup.
Yeah.
I think it will obviously determine the winner of our conference this year, and which is very important because the winner of our conference gets a first round bye in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, yeah. It rotated back around, and it's our turn
Yep.
again, and that's going to be huge for whichever one of those teams comes out of that game. I know you guys will have an eye on that. So will we down in our booth
Yep.
because we'll be
Yep.
looking at that one as well. But and we don't get Gosnell until I believe that's our last game of the season, and we're on Friday
Yep.
night that week. So we got a little ways to go before we get to them. We got to get through these Redskins first. That's the next one up on the
Yeah.
docket. Coach Gar would probably tell me, stop talking about anything but Pocahontas.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but
Exactly
hey,
right.
Mike, I appreciate you coming on. Tell everybody where they can find Redskin Broadcasting Network.
Yeah, Redskin Broadcasting Network on Facebook. We're very active on there. We try to promote not just our football student athletes, but we try to promote all of the sports. We try to promote the band. We try to just promote the school. And then on YouTube, our YouTube channel is Redskin Broadcasting Network on YouTube as well. So yeah, we would love, if we want to steal any of your viewers, we would love to do that, and I promise we will give a totally homer broadcast for the Redskins. So yeah,
That's the way it's supposed to be, right? I mean, that's that
yeah, no
you're
doubt.
Redskin
Yeah,
broadcasting. I mean, I get it.
we're
So,
after Westside, we go to Blytheville on
mhm.
Halloween night. So
Okay.
that's going to be something.
Yeah.
And then we finish up with our rival Highland at home on Thursday night of the last game of the regular season. The Redskins are sitting here. I mean, I think realistically, and again, Coach Casey would probably get mad at me for saying this too, but I think the Redskins win out. We get a 3 seed, which means a home playoff game in the first round. So I know that's got to be something we're thinking about. And again, not looking ahead. We don't want to overlook Westside. We don't want to overlook Blytheville, but this group of Redskin seniors has never beaten the Highland Rebels.
Oh wow.
So that's our big rival.
Yeah.
We had won 9 out of 10 of them. Won 9 out of 10 against them coming into, I guess, three years ago, and then they've won the last 2 in the series. So I know that this group of seniors is going to want to go out on a high note. Regardless of the playoffs or whatever else, they're going to want to go out on a high note against the Rebels. So.
Well, we get to go to Highland on Halloween, and then we come back home and close out on November 7th with Gosnell. That'll be our senior night for Westside, and then we'll close out regular season. So, hey, outside of this Friday night, man, best of luck to the Skins the rest of the year. Just one of those deals.
Way to the Warriors. We're gonna be frenemies on Friday night.
There you go.
That, we're gonna root for you guys as well.
I appreciate that. Thanks for coming on, Mike, and we'll see you Friday night. Really appreciate Mike with Redskin Broadcasting Network taking time to visit with us and fill us in on what we're going to see Friday night when we make the trip up to Pocahontas to take on the Redskins on their homecoming night. If you can't make the trip up to Randolph County, we'll have the game on Suncom 2, YouTube. Coming up around 6:45 or so is probably going to be our start time, depending on how homecoming ceremonies go. But we'll call it 6:45 is when we're going to start coverage on Facebook and YouTube, both for Suncom 2. Westside at Pocahontas. Big game in the 3-4A conference, and hopefully these Warriors can get up there and pull the upset and get their first 3-4A conference win of the season. Until next time, I'm Marcus Carlton, and this has been the Talking Stick Podcast.